the Bulldozer Matt Tremont, the 8-time Deathmatch Tournament winner, the former 2-time world champion, the owner of H2O Wrestling. And if there is one podcast to listen to, that is the Deathmatch Russell Podcast. Let's get ultraviolet, motherfuckers.
And good evening once again, fans. You're listening to the Deathmatch Russell Podcast. They're more than welcome to come on too anytime they want to come on.
Oh man, the girls pop good like.
Alright. It's a budget thing. Let's see what he's up to.
Thank you, man, and thank you for giving me the time.
Tune in right now. And good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Deathmatch Russell Podcast. My guest at this time, female indie pro wrestler, Tatiana Rose. How are you?
I'm doing good tonight.
I'm doing all right. It's like I just got back to work today. It felt great to get back on my feet again, you know, and instead of being cooped up on vacation, you know, not doing anything, watching a lot of wrestling, catching up on a lot of wrestling, just watching and interviewing a lot of people like you right now as well.
Nice. It's always good to catch up on content. It's always good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've laid back and I just was like, oh, I have to get more podcasts out. It's the new year. I want to launch it out the right way, you know, and get as many guests as I can. So if you know anybody, let them know, please.
I will for sure. Absolutely.
So anyway, what got you into wrestling? What got you to be yourself into being into wrestling as a fan? Or growing up?
Well, my brother was always a huge wrestling fan. So when I was a little kid, I would always try to do whatever my big brother was doing. And so I'd watch wrestling with him. That became like our little thing. And then as we got older, I kind of rediscovered wrestling myself and realized, oh, wow, I really like this a lot. In fact, I kind of love this. And it just, my love for wrestling just sort of grew as I got older and began to understand it more and more. And so when the opportunity arose for me to become a part of wrestling, it was no question. It was, all right, let's go.
Right. Awesome. What was your first time going to a show as a fan? Like first like fun show or WWE show or kind of like an independent show?
Ah, man. First show I went to the first show I went to was a house show. It was a Christmas special house show in Pittsburgh. I think it was 2011 that I went. And I remember that it was Edge versus Kane in the main event for the World Heavyweight title in a cage match. And I don't remember how the match went. I honestly just remember at the end, after the cage was taken away, Edge called out the fact that one of the Pittsburgh Penguins had gone to the show. And he asked very, very politely for the Penguins to beat Ovechkin. And it got a very good reaction.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I remember going to a house show and it was John Cena versus Jericho in a cage. and I know, right? Like early on, like it's like, wow, you know, to see them just no cameras, nothing, you know, it's just, and that's when Earl was still around. You know, I know.
Cena versus Jericho is always a classic to watch, I feel like. So
it is. But I wish it was a pay-per-view that night. That would have made it more fun, you know.
Oh, for sure.
But what other have you gone to any pay-per-views as well?
I've gone. I'm trying to remember if I've gone to two, but I haven't gone to any major pay-per-views. I've only gone to like the small, tiny, forgettable ones. I was there for what was that pay-per-view name? The one where it was Seth Rollins versus Ziggler in an Iron Man match, and I was a part of the crowd that started doing the Royal Rumble shenanigans.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I still remember when the timer got taken off the screen and the entire crowd got so angry. Like, wait a minute, now we don't know what time it is.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. That's a good time. That's like fun times, you know. It's like me, you know, like I said, a house show. I always tell, like, boy, I've been to wrestling so many shows. It's like I can't even keep track where I've been, you know. I've been to house
Oh, it
shows. I've
gets
been to
hard
pay per
after a
view.
while.
I went to the one night stand, ECW's one night stand 2 in New York when John Cena and had the riot. That was great. That was like an experience just to be, you know, being in the 6th row, watching the reactions, you know, of Michael Cole or not Michael, Joey Styles and Jerry Lawler doing the smack across the face, you know. So I got to see that right behind my back. I was like, all right, this is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember you know, and of course, Balls Mahoney, a local guy, you know, from the Jersey Shore. So you know, before he passed away, there was a big chant in the crowd, and I helped launch the crowd chant, you know. And then I had to do like a Nacho Libre chant too. I created that, you know what I mean? Like just to get then that out was popular because that movie was just coming out, you know, for WWE. So the crowd was going Nacho Libre during a you know, FBI match versus Tajiri. Yeah, it was great.
That's one of my favorite things is when crowds get creative about their chants. I'm from Pittsburgh, so our hometown guy in
Yes.
WWE is Elias, and I was there the night that he showed up and got a good reaction from the crowd when he asked to walk with Elias, and he had a genuine reaction of okay when everybody cheered for him. And it ended up starting something. It was really cool.
Yeah, once you start a chant, it's like it just grows as you know. I've had chants where I remember going to Ring of Honor, and way back when it was like the guy, his name was Adam Pierce. It was Adam Pierce, and he was facing oh god, I forget who he's facing. But I started a Repo Man chant.
I love that.
Yes.
Oh no.
I know. It's like, yeah, like moments like that you could live like, and you could hear yourself. Oh my god, you could hear yourself in the crowd. Just any kind of like Ring of Honor. Really, you could hear yourself, like, because the crowd just is silent. You know, you get that pop for yourself. Just who cares, you know.
Yeah, Ring of Honor is always like an interesting crowd to be a part of, especially depending on where Ring of Honor is taking place that night, because obviously whenever they travel they end up in different venues, whereas with the WWE I feel like they always aim for the basketball courts or the hockey arenas or even the football stadiums if it has a ceiling. But Ring of Honor, they're always aiming for like the bigger, like almost, I don't want to say dive bar, but like one of those smaller studio concert halls. And so the crowd is like much more together. And like you said, you could basically hear yourself.
Yeah.
So try to start something. It's
like
more than likely going to get picked up.
It's also like when they came to Asbury Park to the convention center for the juniors tournament. Jamie Nobles was in the ring, and I could hear myself picking on him. You know, like going like Suey really loud, Suey. You know,
I love that. I went to a Ring of Honor show one time with my buddy, and I don't remember the name of the wrestler this guy was yelling at, but there's this one guy a couple rows in front of us who kept trying to get chants over, and they weren't that good. And so he tried to do it when it was really quiet, so everybody could just hear him failing. And he called a wrestler Coach Cower, and he tried to get it going. I give him credit. He tried to get it going very, very hard. But instead of getting a Coach Cower chant going, instead he endured a "shut the hell up" chant. It was a little awkward.
Yeah. You know, when you get those crowd chants, just to annoy some of the wrestlers, it's really just, you know, it is fun. It is, and you know, as a fan, you know, and as you're a wrestler, you know, as we yell and chant, and you know, it's just great. It's a rush that we love to, you know, endure, and just to get attention. You know.
Oh yeah,
be on the spot, even if it's like part of like
that's one of the big goals in being a wrestler.
Yeah. or being chopped by a wrestler,
Oh yeah.
as well. I've had the experience of chopping MJF in the chest. Yes, I have. At Combat Zone Wrestling when he faced Ricky Shane Page. I have a gif of that made.
Oh jeez.
It's
Yeah,
great.
no, chops aren't fun. It's like there's two ways to get chopped. There's the
Yes,
person makes the
the
crowd
overhand.
very quiet to chop, and then there's the person chops you and the crowd goes and becomes sort of like
Yeah.
nervous to say anything because that sounded painful.
How many times does that happen to you? Like you've done with the interact with that? Probably like
I
once or
have
twice.
been chopped.
Yeah.
Once or twice. First time the crowd was laughing at me though, so there was more just like a ha ha, and I remember thinking, what? It wasn't even that good. But what can you do except sort of keep going?
Right, and just have fun with it, and just worst experience at a show being heckled. Ooh, how's that by a fan? Or what's the worst experience you've ever had? Like as well stalking as well, or creepy.
Oh,
Just a
okay.
creep that every time probably. I'm sure
So,
lots.
The worst heckle I ever got at a show, actually the same show that I got chopped on and the crowd just laughed at me. A fan leaned over the guardrail to get in my face and call me a
bitch.
let's say lady of the night to be polite.
Oh, lady of the night, yeah.
And what killed me about it and what really made it stick out as the worst one is she was pushing her way through children to do so.
Oh.
And yeah, not one of my finer moments. Luckily, though, that's probably the worst experience with a fan I've had so far. I occasionally have fans that will like try to slide into my DMs and ask me on dates or try to talk to me like I'm their best friend when I've never met them. And while that's unnerving, I've been lucky that it's never gone farther than that, at least for now.
No clue I'm doing.
But that's always that's always like a lingering thing, like and it kind of stinks because I feel like it's affected how much I want to interact with fans on a like one-to-one level. I do want to interact with fans. I do love my fans and appreciate all of their support for me. It's just the creepers have made it a very slow process of sort of connecting with them more. And it's something I'm still working on because again, I love my fans. I want to be able to just sort of be able to be more comfortable around them and have them feel confident walking up and be like, "Can I hug you for a picture?" Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
But especially right now with the pandemic going on.
I know. It's scary. It's just scary. You never know. You just got to be careful. You always have to be careful at a show because, that's scary for you guys, because you're female and my God, somebody could just rape you right there and, pull you in the parking lot and just, and that's not what you want. Some of these venues, I know some of these venues are really dark and shady. You're like, oh, I'm not liking this place. I want to get out of here right now.
Oh, while I have gone to venues kind of like that, most of the time I don't go to shows by myself. I'm always driving with somebody else who's on the show. So it's a nice buddy system to sort of give you a little bit more confidence, make you a bit more comfortable.
Absolutely. You always have to have a buddy or a friend with you because, something goes wrong and then they're there to help and, do the right thing and call the cops or whatever,
Yeah.
So anyway, what current titles have you held? Ooh. What titles have you held in your career? Any titles?
I have held. Oh God, I wish. I've been affiliated with 2 titles. When I was a manager, I managed a team called the Franchise Players, made up of AJ Alexander and Max Alexander. And at the promotion Quaker City Wrestling, they were the tag team champions, and I was their manager. So that was the first one. And then when I was still working for Black Diamond Wrestling down in West Virginia, which I no longer affiliate with because the owner and booker has pretty awful views on people, and it's not something I want to work with.
No.
But while I was down there before all of that came out, I was their unofficial women's champion, being that I never actually won the title, but I was crowned champion. So there was that.
There you go, right? The imaginary belt.
Hey, it was hard work in that title, but getting it was surprisingly easy. Maybe why it went so well.
Now, here's another thing. What I saw a picture of you with a referee that is very familiar, Mr. Happy Hour.
Yep, Happy Hour was the referee for my first win against Lena Lennox.
Yeah, he's a great personality of a wrestler that's really made his way in the world. You know, who wants to be seen and still growing strong. You know.
Yep. Definitely, he's a great person to work with. I worked for him for a few years down at Fight Society, which was running in McKeesport for about 2 years.
Right. So what's the current like? Have you had shows since the pandemic? Have you been wrestling or no?
Unfortunately,
or before that. Before that.
So before that, before the pandemic, I was working again. Like I said, I worked for Black Diamond Wrestling. I left that company in June of last year, and then unfortunately, due to a sling of injuries and the pandemic just continuing to get worse, I have just not had any bookings since.
Right.
And I'm for that to change. But for the year of 2020, it was pretty much Black Diamond and nothing else.
2021, I'm sure you're going to be. 2021 is a new year, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of good bookings. And there's a lot of promotions that you're probably keeping your eyes out. And you know, I could recommend a good one. Goddesses of War. I'm sure you've heard of that. Goddesses of War out of New Jersey.
We have to take a road there.
Titan Championship Wrestling is part of that, affiliated with them, 2 companies together. And they just opened up their wrestling school in Delaware, actually. They just opened a training facility. I know, isn't that awesome? So that's like the new, I know. But yeah, they're based out of Jersey. And we just had Riley Shepard. Riley Shepard. We've had Lady Frost, Vicious Vicky. I'm sure you know all the names, the local talent, and there's so many girls. And we've even had Charlie Cruel come in from the Midwest.
Oh, my most lovable
Yeah, she did a show and she got injured versus Mother Endless. I guess a lady who's really creepy on the CZW, WCW, you know, CZW world, but yeah, she was a coffin match and she took a bump. And I was wondering where I was going to say goodbye to her, and she left for the hospital.
I think I did hear something about that, and and Charlie and I have made no secret about how much we love to beat each other up. But that being said, when I did hear about that, it was it was very concerning, because you never want to see anybody get hurt in this business, especially somebody that you just love to work with. Which
when's the last time you worked with her? What was the last?
Surprisingly, Charlie and I have not actually worked each other again. We've not had a match together in a year. she was my first match ever. She and I faced each other on October, I think it was it was October 26th of 2019. It's my first match. She kicked my ass, which I will get her back for, but she did kick my ass that night. And we haven't stood off in the ring since. And part of that was due to the pandemic. We were supposed to have a match in Fight Underground, which was created by the people that ran Fight Society and Angel Gate before those two promotions sort of ceased to exist. We had everything set up. We were ready to go. There was an area and a time all set up. We were getting ready, and then the location fell through, and it didn't happen.
Never happened. So, Charlie, if you're listening, I'm sure she is.
It didn't happen.
Rematch. Come on.
Love you, Charlie.
Yeah. She made an impact, man. She got the biggest reaction from us fans. Like, really, please come back. And she's coming. That she's coming back full force. She wants to show us again because she felt bad that after that. But
Charlie is a fantastic wrestler, and I think I'm not surprised that people want to see her back.
No, and her promos are great. She is a good her promos are great for FGW, I believe it. Yeah, FGW. Future Great Wrestling, I believe it's called. Yeah. And other promotions as well. But yeah, just to catch her on the to come to the East Coast, she was like, wow, this is my opportunity. She wanted to be seen on the East Coast, and she's like, you could tell like that people like that need a chance to be, even like yourself, you would love to come and just show who you are.
Oh yeah. Charlie and I are both wrestlers of opportunity, and we both grab whatever chances we have. And luckily for Charlie, she had a lot of opportunities during this time frame. And my hope is that I'm just as lucky as she was this coming year and get as many opportunities as possible.
Yeah, because there's so many female wrestlers these days that you probably want to I want to take this person on.
It's this year kind of made me stir crazy. So it's now at the point where anytime I see a woman in wrestling that's really good, and either just like her look is really good or her style is really cool, or even her promos are just something eye-catching, I'm immediately just like, and I want to match with you. I don't know why, but I want it. Let's fight.
Yeah, and then you study them on right now. They're on AEW Dark. Like, there's people that you want to face, and you probably seen who they are, and you know who they are. It's like, wow, I'm glad that they're getting a shot, and you want to be seen as well. You never know. The timing is everything.
Absolutely.
It's like when Christy Starland first made her appearance. And got her appearance, and then you don't know where is she now? I don't see her there on AEW as much, It's like, yeah.
Well, another thing is, trust, as much as you want to dive headfirst into opportunities, sometimes you have to ground yourself and sort of build yourself up for that. Like, don't get me wrong. If I was given the opportunity to fight anybody from AEW, I would go for it. Like, if I got to fight Britt Baker or Skylar Moore or just anybody from that roster, I'd take that opportunity.
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa. Oh my gosh. I would love to step into the ring with her someday. And that's kind of the thing, though. I'd love to step into the ring with her someday, but I think I think right now, if I stepped in with her after months of not doing shows, not having matches, and just sort of being stuck in quarantine, I don't think it would go that well. And I don't think I would put on the best performance I could possibly do. And so it's a matter of just sort of grounding yourself, building yourself up.
Prepping yourself, and doing your workout, your regiments, and getting ready for
One of the people I train with, Chris LaRusso, he gave me a really good nugget of wisdom once and said, you have to set out plans for yourself. You have to set out what you want to do in a month, what you want to do in a year, what you want to do in 5 years. And you need to set those goals for yourself and you need to hit them. But you have to put those goals down. Otherwise, you're just going to be floating, just grasping at straws.
But you know what? And TV is not for everybody. You know that TV is not for, if it's all not about the money. It's just about just being a parent, making yourself known. It's for the fans, and your experience to be because a lot of those people are all, that they really want the money, and no, it's not. It's to put a smile on a person's face, have a great show, or prove who you are to to the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And
I think every wrestler wants to make an impact in wrestling in one way, shape, or form. And everybody has a different viewpoint on how to do that. Me, I want to be a TV person and I want to make it onto AEW, even WWE someday, and make an impact doing something, whether it be something different or just rehashing something old and making it feel fresh. And other people are like, I don't need to go on TV in order to make an impact. MV Young down here in Pittsburgh. Well, I say down here in Pittsburgh, but he's now up in New York. He isn't signed anywhere, and he's been making an impact just mostly through his social media presence and how he markets himself as a wrestler. He doesn't need to go on TV. He's making an impact without it. And that's great.
I know. There's so many guys like that. I know. And a lot of these talents are getting unsigned from Impact. And, I'm just reading like Jake Christ. There's one talent that's been striving for years, as a wrestler and as a tag team with his brother. And now he's on the single scene, and it's his time to shine. Like he's going to, it's just so much talent that's I'm sure that there's so much talent. It's just,
there's talent everywhere you look. And in the age of social media, it's both easier and harder to sort of get yourself known. It's easier because now you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, even to put out your content and get it out to
streaming websites like this, streaming,
exactly.
Live stream.
Podcasts. Everywhere you look, there's a new medium to put out your content and show everyone who you are. But that's what everybody else is doing. And so it's harder because there's so much content.
Because this is new to you. This is new to you, right? Being on like a stream like this.
Kind of, yeah. It's newer to me, yeah. It's not something I used to, but it's a way to do it.
It is. It is.
So it's a matter of
and it's a platform for you to talk and to tell people what you're about, and and that's what I like about podcasting. As a fan, just talk and have fun and
absolutely.
That's why I created I was horrible when I first started, like year one, but then I grew into 4 years, going on 4 years strong now.
That's awesome.
2020. I know. Boot and heel behind my side and a whole bunch of other promotions.
Yeah.
Just shout out to everybody,
Absolutely. Everybody has different strengths, and you can find basically any facet of social media to increase on those strengths. One of my strengths is talking and and storytelling and that sort of thing. So podcasts are a great medium to do so.
Yeah. I mean, you look back at who's the greatest podcast. You could say Stone Cold Steve Austin. Absolutely. Good voice for the business. Jericho, of course. Colt Cabana.
Still absolutely.
Mikey Quackenbush. Mikey Quackenbush. He has his own. I know. Yeah. He has his. He tells you about wrestling. He has a podcast all about the wrestling tips and tricks, and I think that's interesting.
Absolutely. There's so many different ways to enjoy wrestling and to watch everybody sort of grow as a wrestler, or even as a wrestling fan sometimes.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things, though, about the growing social media presence of wrestling is some of the sillier sides of things. One of my favorite things to listen to right now, as far as podcasts go, is the AEW Critical Botch, which is the AEW D&D campaign. And it is absolutely ridiculous.
I haven't heard of that. Or how come I haven't heard of this? Oh,
It's it's not.
send me something later. Send it to me
Oh,
later.
absolutely,
Please.
absolutely.
All right.
It's okay. Let's see.
Mhm.
It's run by Brandon Cutler. I might have just mispronounced his last name.
Yeah.
But his whole gimmick is being a D&D person. And
Mhm.
I'm not 100% sure because I've never actually got tuned into AEW when he was on TV for me to get a good look.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure his character is a dragonborn barbarian, which is awesome. Um, which I'm a huge D&D nerd, so anything D&D related, I immediately go. And when I found out that he had started a
Mhm.
campaign with members of the AEW roster, I immediately was like, okay, I'm listening to this. And for me, that's been a great way for me to get to know those wrestlers
Mhm.
outside of like the whole, oh, I'm in AEW and this is my character. It's more like, okay, this is creatively how I work, how I function. And it's really cool to see the two different sides of the wrestlers.
Mhm. Oh wow, I have to check that out. Definitely. That's
Oh,
something.
absolutely.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. I never heard stuff like that. But yeah.
Well, and then on the flip side of that, what was really cool when Critical Botch started was over here in Pittsburgh, right at the beginning of quarantine, I helped start a wrestling D&D campaign as well. And we've done a couple of streaming sessions of just wrestlers who have no idea how to play D&D, playing D&D and having a ridiculous amount of fun.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a good way to get.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Now you make me have to watch play Dungeons and Dragons again. Yeah.
Oh, I highly
Uh,
recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
I'm sure there's apps I could play on my iPhone. I'm sure, or
Yeah, I mean,
plenty of
it's
content out there. Yeah.
it, it's a bit of a complex way. It's a bit complex to
Mhm.
explain, but basically, you could play D&D by just literally talking to somebody and
Mhm.
maybe occasionally hitting a button on your phone, and
Yeah.
that's the game. It can be
Yeah.
so simple and so complex at the same time, and it's a really cool facet, especially in the wrestling community, because the wrestling
Mhm.
community is already so creative and
They are.
and a little bit violent, and obviously violent, but just
Mhm.
creative in their violence, I guess is a way to put it.
Mhm.
So when you put that into like a fantasy setting and say, okay, you can be literally whatever you want to be.
Mhm.
Well, I want to be a gigantic elephant person. Okay,
Mhm.
you can be what's called a loxodon, and it's literally an elephant humanoid,
Mhm.
and you
That's
could be
cool.
whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Oh wow.
it's
Boy,
it's a very
that's a good that's a cool trend though. That's a good for you to get something like going with wrestlers. That's pretty, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of gamers. There are a lot of gamers that are smart. They're pretty. They have their
oh
own Twitch channel. I know they all have their own Twitch channels and this and that. It's like mind boggling. You know, you
oh
look at
yeah.
it. You know you see all these other ones with all these game. I'm not a gamer. I used to be such a gamer, you know, back in the day, and then I quit. I'd play like wrestling games 24/7. You know what I mean? I'd go to the arcade. I'd go to the arcade and just play the wrestling WWF game when it was popular, you know, or
Mhm.
the Mortal Kombat, you know.
Yeah. I've never been much of a gamer in that sense, but I know I know so many people
Mhm.
that do gaming, and it's another really creative facet to sort of get to know a wrestler without,
Mhm.
meeting them and becoming their best friend. It's cool to
Yeah,
watch how everybody like what games they pick, how they play, what courses they tend to follow in the games. It's
and of course, me growing up at the Jersey Shore, what do we have? The boardwalk with all the arcades. You know, come on, I'm so used to playing and knowing all the games and just playing all the claw machines to win. You know,
absolutely.
you know. So if you're ever up this way, well, I'll challenge you. I'll
um
challenge you.
I
What
I
is?
hmm, I
Yeah.
may grow up on the challenge, but you will most likely beat me because I did not grow up in arcades. I
Really?
grew I did not. I wasn't a gaming person. I
Well,
was more of a I'm trying to
bowling
play.
alley. Oh,
No,
The boxing game, Mike Tyson. No,
no,
what? None.
I,
None.
no. I
Pool.
oh no.
I kick. I kick ass at pool too. Ooh, that's always been bowling and pool were like always the go-to spots, like
Uh,
really.
yeah. What's funny is my parents used to be on a bowling team and like they won championships doing it. But then anytime in my entire life that I've tried to bowl,
Mhm.
well, let's just say there's been more than a few trips to the bowling alley that have ended up with an attendant pulling up the rungs so I don't constantly get a gutter ball.
Yeah. It's not like bowling when we go out with our friends. It was like glow night, glow
Mhm.
dollar bowling night. The nights when you just drink and have your friends are embarrassing you because you can't bowl for shit.
I think I went with my brother has kids and when his oldest was really little, we went to a bowling alley and they had like that little stand to put the bowling ball on so the little kid could like push it and easy strike. Yeah, my brother's child was much better at bowling than I was.
Probably a
And
better golfer too, right? Mini golfer too. Ooh.
oh yeah,
Uh,
golf was another one of those things that like you can hand me the putt, you can tell
yes.
me how to do the thing, and it's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
No. There's another thing people don't realize. That mini golf was a popular thing, growing up. Like just like if you came to the shore, that was the spot to go.
Mhm.
Seaside or Point Pleasant Beach, and just the touristy stupid stuff. You just do that, or you go to Great Adventure for the day and do all the stuff, or go to Popcorn Park Zoo and just walk around watch the animals.
Yeah. I did do a lot of mini golfing when I was a kid. I wasn't that good at it though. Up here in Pittsburgh, there's not really a lot going on for kids, specific for
No,
kids by
they got
themselves.
these fun zones now. They got these sky zones,
Yeah.
jump centers. I've never been to one of those yet. My nieces and nephew have gone. I haven't done that. That's what.
I haven't gone to one myself either. I hear they're a lot of fun, but nowadays fun for me is going to the library.
Going to the library and picking up a good book. That's it.
Exactly.
And then the last book I ever picked up was a Jericho book.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Or Foley. I don't know. Actually, I was listening to an audio book about. There's an author called John Cosper who it's going to be released, and I'm going to actually be talking with. I've been friends with the brother for years, and with the Candido family. Chris Candido actually is releasing a book.
That's so cool.
I know. So hopefully I'll get with him. Actually, he has got COVID right now. So shout out to him. He's hanging out tough. He's being tough as brother. So yeah.
No, wishing him a speedy recovery for sure.
He still lives in Jersey, so hey, that's good. He still is 20 minutes away, which is awesome.
That's good.
Everybody's always at Asbury Park. There's so many. There's one wrestler that you can tell who's from Asbury. Come on, Joey Janela. Like everybody just there's like the local. He's the local star basically.
Yeah, I wish there was that kind of. There's not really that sort of distinction up here in Pittsburgh wrestling. Everybody's from all over the place. Although occasionally, you'll meet somebody that somehow went to the same school district as you, just years and years prior, so you never saw them. Bubba Brewer, no, not Bubba Brewer. Jimmy Vegas and he's gonna kill me for this. Jimmy Vegas and another wrestling person who is a big veteran and has done a lot in Pittsburgh both went to the same high school as me, and both have made fun of me for it.
Yeah.
But and then I mentioned to them that we all went to the same school as a one Kurt Angle, who then went to a completely different school district, which everybody credits him for.
Yeah. It's just amazing. It's just amazing, You just don't know who's pop. And it's like I have a coworker who actually is related, who actually is dating It was the son. Well, the wife and him actually live in my neighborhood. Bam Bam Bigelow's son. One of the Bigelow's
Nice.
sons. I know.
That's nice.
But he doesn't get involved with the wrestling. It's kind of weird. The other brother does. Some of these people just want to be left, but he's a cop too. So yeah, you can see. Don't want to, daylight.
No, you don't want to draw attention to yourself.
No.
Oh, it's interesting though. I actually recently found out that going back to AEW, there's somebody on the AEW Dark roster that I definitely went to high school with. Like we graduated a year apart and knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up her ring name because I know her by her non-wrestling name, which we don't share.
No, we don't. No,
we are. Yeah, we don't talk about those.
No, we keep that hush. Gotta in the wrestling industry.
Oh man. But yeah, we were talking. I was on a Christmas episode podcast for for a local company called Sorgatron Media, and Sorg, Michael Sorg, who runs the whole thing, was talking about how there's this girl who is billed from Dormont, and I'm like, that's in my school district.
Mm-hmm.
Skylar Moore. It's Skylar Moore. Skylar Moore and I.
Wow. Skylar is an awesome. Yeah, she was our champion for standalone wrestling for quite. She actually held our standalone title in my town. Actually, in my town, it was I was a sponsor at the show. Oh my God, she was.
That's so.
She tore the house down, and then she left and made her, big appearance on AEW.
I think Yeah, no, I'm really excited for what she's done in wrestling. I think it's the coolest thing because I don't think, again, she and I knew each other. We weren't really that close of friends, and we didn't know that much about each other. But just knowing that the both of us were such big wrestling fans that we went out and became wrestlers, that's like the coolest thing to me. And knowing that like she's like fast paced her way to where I want to be, that's awesome. And that's kind of one of the goals I have is to like get to where she is and be like, "Hey, girl," and then we
what's up? Yeah, having a good time. Yeah, it's like Joey Janela, man. Like I remember watching him as growing up when he first started his career. Like I seen him wrestle, and I seen like another guy, Stephen Gipke. Like there's so many wrestlers that are just you've seen on the base, on the base indie scene, around your town a lot, or you travel to a show, and it's like, wow, these guys really, I'm glad they made it this far, in who they are.
Oh yeah. We have that happen. We have that happening up this way. Lee Moriarty is a local
Liam. That guy is the best. Oh my god, phenomenal. I just made him one of those awesome things.
Going places.
Yes. He's
going places. He's going places really fast. And everybody knows it. It's really cool to watch, and I'm one of many people who are very proud of all of his success and everything he's been doing with wrestling.
If it wasn't for Game Changer Wrestling to pick him up, like he's a target for everybody to see who he is, and he's awesome. He's the next big thing. Stay tuned, fans. You'll never know where he's going to show up. Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Lee Moriarty years down the line about, wow, look how big he is. Look, I can't believe he's a champion for this place or that place. And the rest of us over here are going to be sitting like, we told you so.
Yep. Yeah, Adam even says that too. He says, Happy Hours tells me all the time. Gosh. There's a company would you like to work for? Ooh.
What was that
Game
again?
Changer. I said Game Changer. There's a company that, if you had the opportunity. Yeah.
Absolutely. Game Changer, AIW.
Or for the Collective. That's the Collective that was so popular.
Yeah. I would love to work for the Collective. I feel like for me personally, that's going to be a couple of years down the line, which is okay. Which is absolutely okay. It's just so hopefully at some point I will get down there.
Yeah. Well, they just had that WWE stole their trademark. Unreal. Really, come on. I know. That's
It's
politics. Yep, it's politics. Basic.
it's business.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the worst parts about the wrestling business is that it is a business, and whether we like it or not, bigger companies are going to see smaller rising promotions like the Collective, GCW, AIW, even Greek Town Wrestling, you could say, just smaller promotions that are slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Bigger companies are going to start going, that looks like competition, and like any business, like any other business, they're going to try to not destroy the competition, but at least slow them down a little bit by doing stuff like trademarking the name. And it's a
Yeah,
bummer, and
yeah,
it's
but you notice WWE really doesn't let their talent do shows. AEW lets you notice how they get to. I'm glad.
oh
So
yeah,
glad.
that
I mean,
happened firsthand down here. AEW's Big Star Wardlow, he got his start down here in Pittsburgh at ICW. Yeah, at Iron City Wrestling,
yeah.
and at their last outdoor event, which I was actually at because I have friends in IWC and want to go support them. They had this big blow off match, and the final member was being hidden. Oh, nobody knew who he was, and everybody else had gotten eliminated, and everybody's like, "Oh, all hope is lost." And
Yeah.
there he was, and it was such a cool thing to bear witness to. Like, Wardlow got really big and popular very quickly in Pittsburgh, I feel like.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
So when I was training, he was just starting to get big, and he'd pretty much disappeared by the time I really started being more comfortable interacting with wrestlers outside of my own company. So for me, this was like a very surreal experience, his return, because I was like, wait, is this happening? Holy crap,
Yeah,
how did we get the hometown
there
crew to come back from this big contract to do this little show? This is so cool.
Now he's sitting behind a rail. There he is, ringside.
I'm like, wow, he really is that big. That's not just a trick of the camera. But then again, that's not saying much for me. I'm 5 feet tall, so everybody looks very tall to me.
Right.
So I met him after the show, and it was pretty much went like, "Oh, hi, I'm Tatiana. Nice to meet you."
Yeah,
Hi, I'm Michael.
That's like Marco Stunt. Yeah, when he first started.
I feel like me and Marco Stunt would get along very well. He and I have a lot in common.
He's a great person.
That's what I've heard.
He's really a great person. I remember I had him on the podcast. Oh my God, there's an episode. Go back and listen to that. I could find it. That's great. It was just before he actually was made it big, like the AEW. He was wrestling Game Change. Game Changer Wrestling was just brought him in. He was just getting noticed. It was like, here's his opportunity. Got the guy from the Midwest, and just bam. Good things happen to him.
Oh yeah, the opportunities will sometimes come out of nowhere for people, and it's cool to watch everybody like sort of get noticed in different ways in different stages of their career. We talked a little bit before about Lee Moriarty and how all of the work he's been putting into his career and his gimmick and his image is finally paying off, and Marco Stunt was just slowly getting noticed and just got snatched up for an opportunity, and Wardlow making it super big and just
I know. It's like Johnny Silver and his partner. All those guys really put their heart and soul to wrestling. Him and Reynolds. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
And look who they were. Look who they were mentored by. Into the ring.
Yeah.
Brody Lee. Which was an honor and really a privilege to work with. I've seen Brody wrestle. I like talking about Brody because he's a cool person. He was a cool wrestler. I've seen him at a house show. I remember going to a house show. I saw him face Dean Ambrose, I believe it was, and Moxley at the time. And then I remember just like his career. Like he had a lot of good matches with the Necro Butcher and just other people that he's tagged with over the years. So I got to see him at his prime, like in his, in winning titles, in Jersey.
Yeah. Oh,
and Ring of Honor as well.
Brody Lee was. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead. Sorry.
I've actually been learning more and more about Brody Lee since his passing, which I feel bad about that because I feel like he's seeing what he did over his career, seeing what kind of person he was, both as a wrestler and outside of wrestling. I've definitely started learning more about like his ring style, his former matches, like just listening to everybody talk about him and how he worked. And I feel bad that I didn't.
He had a good career. Go back and look at Kachara. Has a lot of his stuff with him. With Kingston, him and Kingston, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good. And Larry Sweeting, of course, too. Shout out to him. Man, I miss Larry Sweeting. The sweet and sour. You know?
Yeah, no. I'm actually kind of bummed out that like I didn't realize how big of a presence he was in wrestling before. And maybe it's just one of those nobody ever brought him up, so I didn't really think about it until.
But now it's gonna be.
But now everybody's talking about him.
But now his son's going to be signing. They signed him to a full deal when he grows up. You know, amazing. Isn't that great?
It is great.
I mean, where are you going to find that? Nowhere. It was like that Nicholas character on WWE. You know, got the contract for held a belt up. You know, but no, this kid has.
I remember that. I
used to make memes of that up and stuff. I used to chat up, hit the chat board up on WWE all the time or on Twitter.
I still remember reading that after that happened, that Nicholas went to school with the belt and just walked around all day with it. And I remember being like, what a kid. What a kid. Selling even while he's at school. That's really professional. But yeah, big hats off to AEW for how they've really worked with the Lee family on this.
Really smart. Tony Khan, really a genius. Like as a promoter, owner of a company. You know, it's gonna be kind of weird seeing them not there at the center for a while. They'll be in Miami, you know, in February.
Yeah, that'll be strange. I'm interested to see what their new setup looks like. Although I kind of imagine it's not. I imagine it's not going to be that much different. I mean, the setup they had beforehand was really good, especially for what they were doing with programming in the middle of a pandemic. But you know, moving to a new place that gives you a new opportunity to try new things, especially with how you set up your stage. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this new space.
I'm sure it's going to be a smaller place. I'm sure it's going to be probably like a smaller venue because I'm sure they want to do it the right way. Like, you know.
Yeah, limit capacity to just keep as few people as possible from potentially getting sick.
Yeah.
That's been one of the hardest things about this pandemic is just you want the fans to be able to experience your wrestling, but you don't want people to get sick. You don't want people risking their safety just because.
I just tell my friends be careful when they go to these shows, and I was going to go to New York New Year's Eve for Game Changer. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to risk any of my health, and you know, I'll watch it on TV. I'll support them, you know, and I did. I was tweeting the guy all night long on the commentary. It was great. So it was awesome. Yeah. Great show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard a lot of good things about it. But
do you have a subscription to Fight TV? Ooh.
Not right now. I do not.
Or IWTV. No.
I don't have a subscription to either right now. That's something that's on my list for like things to do in the very near future. Right now, it's not something I can really start just because I'm currently in the process of moving.
Yeah.
But once that's done, it'll be like, okay, now let's actually get into gear and get the things we really need entertainment-wise. Because this year, not only do I want to wrestle more, I want to study wrestling more. It's...
Yeah. And YouTube gets tiring after a long time.
There's only so much you can find on YouTube because of copyright laws. A lot of times you'll find that like you can only find snippets of certain matches because if you put the whole thing on, it's going to get flagged. One of my favorite matches, the best part is on YouTube for sure, but the rest of the match is lost, at least to that particular medium, because if they put the whole thing up, it would get taken down. So you just get the one portion of it.
I've got sites that you might want.
That's so.
Boot. Yeah. Ooh, thank you, David. Free, so you can watch stuff for free. No, but people don't really care nowadays. They really don't pay attention to what's on the internet. Well, let's call it a night. I got to get up for work tomorrow. I'm tired.
That is completely valid.
What time do you start work on your normal day?
6:30.
I'm up at 5:30, and then I start at 6, and I'm out 12:30. I'm out at 12:30 for the COVID. Thank God, though.
That's not bad.
No,
I work a full-time job, so I start at 6:30 and I'm out at 3.
I used to be out at 2:30, but
nice.
Since I know, but now this COVID stuff, so we're spacing it out.
Yeah,
spacing it out. What else do we got going on? Anyone want to say anything before we close out the show?
Just stay safe. Keep watching wrestling. Stay safe. Keep watching wrestling. Keep supporting your local talent. Buy their merch. Support. Share their pages if you can't buy their merch. Keep wrestling alive, and keep yourself alive too.
Yeah, and follow you on all your social media platforms.
Pretty please.
And support her. Buy some t-shirts. There's big sales going on right now. I'm seeing everybody with the sales. So
yes, we are currently, PWTs is currently having the New Year's sale. Save 20% off of any t-shirt on any store by using the code New Year's. It's all one word, including in my store. So I've got a couple of shirts there. You may find something you like.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. We'll do this again soon. I'd love to have you come back on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back soon.
All right. Have a good night.
You as well.
Yep. Who do I got on tomorrow? I got another wrestler on. I believe I have a guy named Amp Dominic on tomorrow night. Ooh, I got some odd name people I would pick out of these podcasts. I always find a random person, I just like to find people who are different. And that's what you want, wrestler-wise. Yeah. Because the characters, some of these guys are in character. It's so fun. Like I've done podcasts with like masked wrestlers, and I could just go along with it. It's just fun. Sure. But tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I'll be on with Amp Dominic. He will be on my podcast live. So stay tuned for that, and many more guests coming up. Thank you for listening to the Deathmatch Wrestle. Have a good night, everybody. Good night. Bye. Let me close this stupid thing out. Close you out. Peace out. Peace out and love. Right? Peace out and love, and stay wrestling. Support
Peace, love, wrestling.
That's it. Fans, I want to say thank you to my guest tonight, female wrestler, Tatiana Rose. She's really thriving to become who she wants to be in the business of wrestling. Go out to a show, support her. When you see her, 2021's a new year, and she's looking for the opportunity. And who does she want to face? Yes, she said a rematch with Charlie Cruel. So, Charlie, if you're listening to this, rematch down the line, make it happen. And fans, go out and support her. Buy some merch. Support her right now because times are tough for the independent wrestlers. And buy some merch on her at her Tatiana Rose on her Pro Wrestling Tees. And thank you for coming on tonight. And fans, as I said, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., professional wrestler Amp Dominic will be on the podcast. We'll be talking to him and see what he's up to and much, much more. We'll be talking wrestling. Thank you, fans. Have a good night, everybody. And tune into the Deathmatch Wrestle podcast for another episode. Also, fans, remember to check out bootandheel.com for all your wrestling, independent wrestlers, merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, and much, much more. Also, check out Deathmatch Russell Podcast as well on there. You could buy a t-shirt for me. You could buy a hoodie. You could get some face masks, this and that. So support us all on bootandheel.com. And Collar and Elbow. Also, shout out to Collar and Elbow. So you can always save 10% when you make a purchase by using the promo code Deathmatch Russell Podcast as well. And a shout out to Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network for all your pop culture podcasts. Also, sports, final scores, and your talk shows. And there's just so much culture and music and this and that and much more. Also, check them out and support them as well on my page as well on Facebook.com, Podcast City Network, and hit the like button and share. Also, check out their shop as well. Podcast City Network has an apparel shop. You can buy a t-shirt from Podcast City Network, all your podcasts, final score, as well as Deathmatch Russell Podcasts as well. That's a lot to say. All right, fans, have a good night, everybody. Till tomorrow night, tune in to the Deathmatch Russell Podcast.
You can find more Deathmatch Russell podcasts on the following social media: DeathmatchRussell.com, follow on Twitter at DavidNJ32, and on Facebook, Facebook.com/DJDaveNJ32. Find me on Podcast City Network at PodcastCity.net, Facebook.com/Podcast City Network. Hit the like button and share, and on Twitter at PodcastCityNet. You can hear Deathmatch Russell podcast on Stitcher Radio and on iTunes. Hey, wrestling fans, check out bootandheel.com for all your independent wrestlers, apparel, and more. Also, check out Deathmatch Russell Podcast as well. www.bootandheel.com.
That's it.